Good morning, respected chairpersons and dear colleagues. We now present from the All India Institute of Medical Sciences our experience with the follow-up of children with bladder extrophy epispadias complex after the single-stage total reconstruction. The incidence reported in literature for this anomaly is 2.1 to 4 per 100,000 live births. Despite the poor quality detrusor, lack of bladder neck sphincter, and a short stubby penis, the upper tracts are relatively preserved. The current indications for augmentation in these children are questionable. The decision is often delayed in the hope that bladder capacity would increase with time, which paves way for deterioration of upper urinary tracts. We evaluate here the upper and lower tract parameters after single-stage total reconstruction in extrophy bladder cases to identify endpoints for earlier decision to augment these bladders. It was a retrospective analysis over a 20-year period in which a total number of 68 children were included, excluding 7 with redo cases, stenosis, or stones, out of a total of 75 children who underwent the single-stage total reconstruction. Majority were males with a mean age range of 15.6 months, starting from newborn period to 11 years at the time of primary surgery. More than 50% of the children were less than 6 months of age. On evaluation of the upper tracts, we found that there was a 4-fold increase in the number of children with a differential function less than 30% on one side over the 3-year follow-up. On the DMSA scan, the number of children without any scars decreased from 37 to 13% over 3 years, with an increase in the number of children with the presence of bilateral scars. The number of children with a glomerular filtration rate less than 90 taken arbitrarily increased from 22 to 45.6% over the 3-year follow-up, and the number of children similarly with more than 90 GFR decreased. The number of children with the serum creatinine less than 0.5 decreased from 73% to 33% after 3 years. The number of children with higher grades of reflux increased from 19 to 52%. The leak point pressure was calculated to be 47.2 centimeters of water at 1-year follow-up and 50.6 centimeters at 3 years. There were 10 children with a leak point pressure less than 40 at 1-year follow-up, which decreased to merely 1 after a 3-year follow-up, despite initiation of anticholinergics for an average of 25.1 months. The expected capacity for age was calculated according to the Koff's formula and compared with the maximum systometric capacity. Although there was an increase in the maximum systometric capacity from 22 ml to 67.4 ml at 3 years, it was 22% of the expected capacity after the surgery, 27% of expected capacity at 1-year follow-up, 27.9% at 2-year follow-up, and 35.6% at 3-year follow-up. Although there was this increase in the capacity with age, but the discrepancy between the expected and the measured capacity goes on significantly increasing at every follow-up. This leads me to revise again that a large amount of collagen, the poor quality of detrusor, and the poor innervation just don't let these bladders to grow in size. So when should bladders be augmented? Is this an option or a part of a staged procedure in the management of this disease? In our study, we saw that the number of children with deterioration of upper tracts in terms of poor differential function on one side, the presence of bilateral scars, the GFR less than 90, creatinine more than 0.5, and higher grades of reflux keeps on increasing with time. And there was no difference in children less than 1 year of age and more than 1 year of age at the time of primary surgery. Hence, we concluded with 3 endpoints. The extrophy bladders don't grow. They don't grow despite the initiation of anticholinergics in these children, and they just don't grow. The current criteria for bladder augmentation are not safe. A leftward shift in criteria of age for augmenting these bladders are required to save the upper tracts and prevent nephron loss. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Alisha. This paper is open to discussion. Any questions? Dr. Sudeepta?
I think it's a very important paper, and how you have studied the renal deterioration Though there is in some increase in bladder capacity, that is happening at the expense of the upper tracts. So I think it's a very important paper, and all of us who do extrophy take this paper into a very serious consideration. Thank you.
In view of your observations, what are your comments about primary bladder closure and primary bladder augmentation?
So primary bladder closure is done whenever the child presents to us. We have seen no difference in the change in the upper tract parameters, whether the children were operated in the newborn period or at 1 year of age or at higher age. About primary bladder augmentation, we have not had any personal experience, barring one child who had adenocarcinoma at the time of presentation. So we had to do a primary bladder augmentation after excision of this.
But you said these bladders don't grow. Once they don't grow, so what is the fun of primary closure? Why don't go for primary augmentation?
So we have not had any experience, but this can be an idea. But we should give time for the tissues to at least grow in size to reach a particular age, after which the augmentation can be done on the primary bladder plate.
Thank you.
I think the point that you have raised is important. But what Sudipta said is basically that All India Institute has basically shown on a longitudinal follow-up that bladder extrophies after closure don't do as well as what we expect them to do. How we are to take it forward is something that we have to sort of look into our own practice and decide. But I accept your point.
No, it is why I asked you this question, because Dr. Bajpai has a lot of experience regarding extrophy episiotomy bladder. So we want to listen from he's almost an authority on this in Indian field. So why not to go for primary bladder augmentation rather than primary bladder closure?
Well,
primary bladder closure is then wastage of energy and time.
Right. I'll briefly touch on this because the time constraints will be there. We can discuss it later. We used to do stage procedure with primary turn-in or closure of the bladder followed by bladder neck and epispadias repair in different combinations. We changed in the last 20 years to doing a single stage total reconstruction, which is everything done whenever the child presents to us. And we were expecting that this total reconstruction is going to give us better capacities, early impetus, better early bladder cycling, so growth will be much better. And to our surprise and dismay, it didn't happen. In fact, when we put up the apparatus together, we find that the upper tract deuteration is much faster. So I would rather say that if we are doing this procedure, we should be prepared for an early augmentation. And as Alisha very rightly pointed out, that we have to have the local tissues closure in place. Often these bladders don't have a very good postoperative course. So the bladder anatomy is not the only one, it's the bladder wall, the abdominal wall closure is also equally important. So once within a year's time, and when we compared our series of stage procedures versus the primary total reconstruction together, we found that in the stage closure, you're delaying the onset of upper tract deuteration because you're not doing everything together in the same time. So therefore, we should allow a year's time, and we have seen in a year's time some growth takes place. It's not enough. So in a year's time, when we have tissues are in place, and then we can go in for early augmentation. So those who want to do stage procedure, or those who don't want to augment the bladder as early as the newborn or as early as the infancy period, should stick to stage procedures and do at 4 or 5 years of age of augmentation. Those who want to continue with single stage total reconstruction should be prepared to do bladder augmentation at 2 to 3 years of age itself. So I'll put it this way. Thanks.
Right, sir.
Dr. Gopi, a quick comment. Yeah.
Thank you for the very good paper and its discussion. Did you look at the on the angle that there is bladder neck contracture or stricture, because the sphincter reconstruction is very important in these cases of extrophy, and if there is a good identification of sphincter urethrae and repair without causing stricture element at the bladder neck reconstruction, the bladder development will be different, will behave in a different way. And this aspect is checked in this good. Thank you for the very good paper and its discussion. Did you look at the
develop stricture of the bladder neck after the surgery, because this might confound by giving a very high pressure to the system and deteriorating the upper tracts much earlier than what would have been in the single stage total reconstruction with a normally constructed bladder neck without any stricture.
I think that's an important point. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Santosh?
Thanks for nice paper.
and
Time matter. If you close the bladders early and in a single stage as Mitchell does, we have seen the bladders have gone. And second thing, if you identify the sphincter by electrical stimulation, and if you give the bladder neck closure, these again will increase or augment the bladder capacity.
I think if I may be permitted for because we are running short of time. Both these points require a lot of discussion, what you're saying. We will take it up later. The only question is, when you do a sphincter reconstruction, are you really constructing a normal sphincter is question number one. Is the bladder and sphincter going to work in tandem, like what it would happen in a normal bladder is question number two. I doubt whether that really happens. So we'll just leave it at that. Okay, we'll take her point that you should not create a stricture at the bladder outlet, which will confound this issue, and then go further on that. Sudipta, a very quick comment.
Thanks.
Yeah, the question of augmentation in the beginning was raised. I'll give a very good reason why it should not be done unless absolutely necessary. Because in extrophy, the problem is the wound can give way. So if we have a bladder which is closed and it gives way, well, it is a disaster but not a life-threatening disorder. But if you have an augment sitting there and the abdomen gives way, then we have a life-threatening problem. So we should not augment. First, let the bladder closure heal nicely, and then only we augment.
Augment.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Alicia. Thank you very much for a good paper. Thank you.